All right, hello everyone. I'm just a dude who enjoys gear and wanted to share some things I'm passionate about. I've noticed that there's really no gear review for this bag, the Nemo Vantage 30L backpack. When I was looking to buy one, I only saw like some really short reviews of people that haven't actually like really used it and seen how it functions in the wild. So I figured I would potentially help someone looking at this bag by giving an actual honest review of the bag. I think I've had it for over a year at this point, maybe going on 2. So yeah, I'm gonna hopefully start making videos in the future here just about things I'm passionate about, maybe build some connections with some of you guys and help some people out. So yeah. C-cubed cushioning. Slow-mo. Professional shot. All right, so we'll just get into some background into why I bought the bag in the first place. So I initially bought this bag as kind of like a hybrid. It was going to be like my everyday carry bag for work and also my travel bag. And I'll tell you right out the gate, it's not great for everyday use, I would say. I'll zoom in on the pockets later in the video and stuff, but you can kind of tell there's just not a whole lot of organization. So I'll show more in the video, but like this is kind of your main pocket, right? And as you can see, it's just kind of a big hole, which that's great for travel, but for like daily organization, there's not a whole lot going on here. You have these like 2 little inner pockets, I guess, right? And then you have like this shoe pocket. The problem that you'll see with the shoe pocket, which I'll also show later in the video, is if you actually put shoes in here, it takes up a lot of room in your big main pocket. So I usually end up using it for dirty clothes more than anything. But yeah, I was just looking for a dedicated travel bag. I was kind of just using like a lot of my everyday bags. Like I have this old JanSport here I've had since like my freshman year of high school. I was using this for travel for the longest time. And it's just pretty beat up and old and, you know, kind of childish looking, I would say, for a grown man to be walking around with. So I figured I'd finally get like a dedicated travel style bag. So yeah, I would say it does good at that. And we'll kind of go into that here. So I'll just go ahead and take this off. All right, so the materials. Right, in general, the material I would say is very good. This stuff is it's definitely scratch resistant. It's strong. Like I said, I've had this for over a year. I've taken it to London for like a 2-week trip. I've taken it on multiple like overnighters. I've just taken it on a lot of flights in general, and it's held up really well. I mean, I'd say it still looks practically brand new. They advertise the fabric as being water resistant. I haven't tested that like super hard. I did live in Florida when I owned this, so it definitely got rained on, but not like pouring rain. But in the rain it did experience, it definitely held up. And it's definitely very scratch resistant fabric. So I would definitely say that's a positive of this bag for sure. And it's definitely durable. So now this back panel, this cushioning, I don't like this cushioning at all. Well, I won't say at all. It's comfortable for sure, but it doesn't really feel like anything special. Like feels pretty comparable to like my JanSport that I've had for years and years. They advertise it as being moisture wicking. In my experience, that's really not the case. I sweat plenty with this thing. I don't really find it to be moisture wicking at all. I can get sweaty pretty fast. Now I recognize that, especially living in Florida where I primarily use this, you know, like you're going to sweat some, like that's just inevitable. But like, I'd say to the point where it's not really worth advertising as like a feature. I would say it's not really a feature. I think if that's something you're really concerned with, this bag This is an Osprey. This is like my new everyday carry bag I like to use. This is kind of my go-to. I love this thing. I don't use this for travel. I still like to use that one for travel, but for everyday carry, this is superior. And as you can see, it has this like mesh back. So your back isn't actually touching the bag, it's touching this mesh, and it creates like this pocket for airflow. And that is, in my opinion, a much better system for giving your back ventilation, and also just more comfortable too, because as you fill the bag up, you know, with this bag, as you fill this thing up, if you fill this thing up pretty full, like this part will start to come out like that, right? And like bulge, and you can feel that pushing into your back, which can be kind of uncomfortable. Where with this thing, like because I have this mesh liner like separating it, this gap here, that's just not an issue. So as far as the C-Cubed cushioning goes, not a huge fan. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not great. We'll get into this duffel style opening. This is definitely pretty nice. As you can see, it's pretty spacious. I would say for me, a grown 27-year-old man, you know, pretty basic as far as clothes go, I can fit like 3 to 4 days max of clothes, toiletries, all the things, all the essentials I'm gonna need in here is about what you're looking at. So give you an idea. And then what is nice is it has these hook loops here. So you can unhook that on both ends, right? And then it allows you to open the bag up like that much more, because you can raise that up. And then when you're done, you can obviously strap it back down to kind of make it a little tighter and not jut out so much. But yeah, I'm a fan of the main duffel opening. I think that's the main highlight of this bag. That's where this bag shines as a travel bag, because of this main opening. It just allows you to fit like a lot of clothes and bulky items, I would say. And that's why I really do enjoy this as a dedicated travel bag as opposed to everyday. These pockets are fine. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of, like, yes, they're good for organization and putting like miscellaneous items or like jewelry or whatever. You know, I put like my watch in here and stuff like that. But like as you fill it up, you're taking space away from the main compartment. So that's kind of a little potential downside you may feel. All right, we'll go into the rest of the compartments. So you have this big old shoe compartment, which looks fantastic, I would say, right? Like phenomenal. But the problem is, and I'll do it even, do I have any shoes? You know, here we go. Here's a pair of shoes right here. Now keep in mind, I do wear a size 13 shoe, so this might be a bigger issue for me than you. But, okay. So, as you can kind of tell, like that takes up a lot of room in my bag. Like, so if I were to actually put a dedicated pair of shoes, I am no longer fitting 3 to 4 days worth of stuff in here. You're probably looking more at like 2, especially if you have a jacket or something. Like, well, you just really cut down on the amount of space you have in this main compartment due to how much space these shoes are taking up. Try to give you like a side view, kind of tell a little bit. So yeah, I didn't really find it useful for like shoes per se. I use this almost exclusively as like a dirty laundry compartment, because at least that way I can still compress the clothes down to not take up so much space, you know. And it's very useful for that. I did enjoy it for that, but for shoes, I don't think that's super realistic. Already went over this main compartment and the inner pockets. We'll go into these. So it has this top pocket here, which I just put a lot of miscellaneous items in. So just kind of see how big that is, right? It's decent size. I usually put like a lot of charging cables in here, a dedicated battery bank. That's usually what usually goes in here, and it has this little mesh here, so it's ventilated if that matters to you at all. Now we're into this main pocket. I personally feel like this is another limiting factor of the bag. So due to the fact that it only unzips to this point, so as you can see, the zipper stops right there. It's like, that's how it opens. I find that to be very limiting as far as like what you can fit. If you have a big beefy laptop like me, so like I have this laptop right here, right? Like it's a 16-inch Lenovo Legion Pro, like kind of like gaming centered laptop. That can fit right here in this, but it is like tight. I mean, barely. You're gonna barely fit it. It's almost ripping it, and you're definitely not going to fit it in this sleeve. This sleeve, I'd say you could put like a tiny laptop or like maybe like an iPad, or I put my Kindle in there a lot. And I have been able to fit my big laptop in here, but it's like super tight. It is elevated off the ground, I believe. Yeah, so it is elevated off the ground in there, which is nice. So if you were to drop your bag on the ground or something, it shouldn't affect your laptop. So that's a positive. But this compartment's just kind of tight in my opinion. So after fitting like my laptop in here with my really beefy charging brick that comes with it, like that's about all I'm getting. And then like my Kindle maybe. You also have this little tiny pouch right here. Also good for miscellaneous stuff like cables and things of that nature. Maybe some pencils, pins, whatever you want. I didn't use that a whole lot. I mainly just used this and then the pocket itself. Going into the last pocket, you have this little hidden pocket right here. Give you an idea of what you can fit in here. I can fit my, I'm sorry, my lighting is so bad. I can fit my Kindle in here reliably, and that's honestly what I usually put in here. I did put my passport in here a few times, but I'm just really sketched about carrying my passport off body, like at all, in case my bag were to get taken or something, or I get separated from my bag for whatever reason. I just usually keep my passport on me. But it's definitely, it'd be good for that. You can see if you tuck away the zipper and stuff and you're like actively wearing the bag, it's not super noticeable that is there. I think it's useful. I definitely liked it. But yeah, that's kind of going over all the pockets, I think. So let's see, what's going next. So it's 30 liters. Now I'm like conflicted on the actual size of the bag itself. So like I would say 30 liters, if you're going to use this as like your only bag and like a weekend bag, I think 30 liters is on the smaller side. Now I'll admit I'm a heavier packer myself, and I do have like a family and stuff, so that definitely adds to that. But 30 liters is definitely on the smaller side. I think if you're going to use this as like a dedicated weekend bag or something like that, or like the only bag you bring at all, I would go with a 40 liter. They have a 40 liter version that they released after I bought this version. I probably would have got the 40 liter if I could go back. But alas, I did not. Now, what I will say is super nice about this being a 30 liter bag for travel is this fits under the seat of most major airlines. Maybe not like the super budget ones like Spirit, but for like Southwest, American, all the airlines I used to fly to England and stuff, this fit under the seat. So basically my setup was I'd have this bag on my back, which is about as big as you can go before it stops fitting under the seat. And then I'd have a carry-on suitcase. And between the 40 to 45 liter carry-on suitcase and this 30 liter backpack, I was set. Like I could fit everything I needed clothes-wise and whatnot easily. And then I didn't have to bring any carry-ons, which is super nice, especially when you're going overseas, because when you ride like the tube in London and the subway and all that, it just gets really cramped. And if you have giant suitcases, you're like hauling up and down stairs and bringing onto the crowded subway, it's a pain in the butt. So phenomenal for travel for that reason. Like I said, this fits under the seat and it's like right at the biggest size you can go before that becomes no longer possible. So for that, if that's what you're thinking of using it for, then the 30 liter is a great option. If this is the dedicated only bag you're bringing, I would go up to the 40 liter personally. All right, we'll go into the hardware and stuff, right? So this is where I really started running some other issues with the bag. These straps that you can tighten and loosen, yeah, these suck. They constantly come looser or tighter without you really doing anything. Like I can't tell you how many times I go to grab the bag and the straps are all like different lengths and stuff and not aligned at all. And it just really sucks at maintaining whatever tension you set it to. And it was not great. So did not a fan of that. Also, this little plastic piece is meant to hold this piece in there so it's not flopping everywhere. And as you can see, it doesn't do that. A lot of times that comes off too. So not very useful in that regard. Now all the zippers feel great. The overall like bag material feels great. But yeah, these straps was not a fan. As I really loaded this thing up too, I would say it wasn't the most comfortable. It wasn't uncomfortable, and this sternum strap is good. I do like the sternum strap. It helps a lot. Actually, I don't, because this. All right, so as you can see, the sternum strap is adjustable, but my gosh, not easily. This thing is it can be pretty difficult to get out. I will say. I say that and then I get it out first try. I think I had to loosen it up first or something. Or I think it was on, I think the problem was it was like on this one, like the lowest one right here. And man, if it's on this lowest one, yeah, you're not getting that out. It's a pain in the butt. So I feel like this is just kind of like a gimmick. Like, you know, my Osprey bag, I have a sternum strap too, and it slides up and down on this little rail here, and it's significantly easier to adjust, but it's still stiff enough to where it stays where I want it to stay. As opposed to this, which is just way harder to adjust. Less adjustment too, because you have to put it within these loops. You can't just go up half a loop or something. So yeah, I think this is an inferior sternum strap system. The actual clip is nice. The sternum strap does do its job. Like, it definitely helps alleviate the weight on your shoulders and kind of put it more on your chest, which is useful. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that. The other really big issue I had is this clip right here, either this one or the other side, I can't remember, but it broke. Keep in mind, I like to, I mean, yeah, there's like dog hair in my gear, but for the most part, I take care of my stuff, right? I'm not super rough with it. I'm a big proponent of buy once, cry once. I try to really take care of my stuff and make it last forever if possible. And this strap broke, like, and this was when I was using it as a daily carry bag. So like literally all it was doing was going into an office and going into my truck. And that was it. And somehow it still managed to break. Not really sure how that occurred. And that was pretty disappointing, not gonna lie. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of this system either. And these are just plastic, right? Not metal. So they're, like I said, I don't even know how it broke, but it did. So that was pretty disappointing as well as far as the strap system goes. Now this is where, I will say, so we'll go into my warranty experience now with Nemo, and this is where it really shines. So, okay, I dropped my camera and it made a lot of noise, so I'll have to learn. I'm still learning how to video edit, so I'll figure that out later. But, so yeah, as I was saying, the strap on this broke right here. That was pretty disappointing because, you know, this is a pretty expensive bag. But this is where I'll give a huge shout out to Nemo here. And this is, I think, a big reason why they justify the price they charge for this thing. I think it's like over $200. Is that warranty is no joke. You know, they got the lifetime warranty. I have multiple Nemo products. This is the first one I've ever had that's broken on me. I have a Nemo Dagger Osmo tent that I've used extensively for backpacking. I've hiked the Florida Trail for a week straight with it. I've done Colorado Bend State Park. Just multiple state parks with it, as well as multiple backpacking trips. And that thing's been a tank. Love it to death. But in regards to the warranty experience on this bag, so this is the first time I ever had something break. I just followed the warranty procedure. You know, I emailed them and everything. They asked for a picture and whatnot of the clip. I showed them the problem and no questions asked. They just sent me a new clip to reattach, you know? So I definitely think they stand behind the product, and I wouldn't, let's say if something were to break on this, which I think would probably be the straps, if anything, I wouldn't be too worried about them screwing you or whatever. Like, yeah, you're out of a bag until it gets fixed, but overall, they definitely stood behind the product. The warranty team was like super quick. They were super, you know, understandable. They didn't give me any issues or argue with me about anything. You know, they're like, okay, that's fair. And just immediately sent me a buckle. So, and they do have a lifetime warranty. So I would say if you're buying a Nemo product in general, that's one of the main reasons I personally buy them, is for that warranty and the overall quality. I would say this is definitely an overall quality bag. I just don't think it's, I think it's like $230 or $200. Definitely don't think it's worth that. I think, like I was showing my Osprey bag earlier, right? I think there's a lot of bags that Osprey has that can do the same thing that this thing does, but arguably better, and for either the same price or even less. And Osprey also has a lifetime warranty on all their products, and it's pretty legendary, right? So that kind of takes away one of Nemo's main competitive advantages, I would say, in a bag like this. So yeah, that's mostly what I have to say. I've definitely found use with this bag, like I said, where I bring a carry-on suitcase in this. But if I could go back, I probably just would have gotten another Osprey bag. I really like Osprey bags. I have them for backpacking. I have them for daily use. I do have a travel Osprey bag behind me as well, somewhere back here. But yeah, I still love Nemo products overall. I have multiple Nemo tents. I have the Nemo Pillow pillows as well, and I exclusively use those when I go camping, even car camping, and they're phenomenal. I think Nemo makes good products and stands behind their products. I just think they probably need to revise some things with this bag. I know this is like the first generation, right? So I definitely think they could revise some of the issues I was talking about and maybe bring a second version back to the market and maybe more at a slightly competitive price point. I think closer to like 150 to 200, I think, for a bag of this quality with the lifetime warranty, I think would be more fair. But yeah, that's about all I have in regards to this bag. Is there any other questions you have about it? You know, I'm happy to answer them. I hope this helped you in some kind of meaningful way, and I'll hopefully start making more stuff in the future, just kind of sharing things I'm passionate about, like gear, or I have a lot of different passions, so I still got to decide what I'm going to share and hopefully build community with. But yeah, if you had anything else, just let me know. Also, I'm open to feedback, because I'm not very, I'm very new at this. I'm sure you can tell. So, any feedback. I'm sure the lighting could use some work. That's fair. But yeah, any other questions? Let me know. Have a good day. Oh. Okay. So I realized I forgot some things. Mainly the water bottle pockets. Also not a fan of these. As you can see, they are like super skinny and they go really deep, which I actually don't like either, because then my water bottle will fall so far down the bag I can't reach it. And then as you can see, they don't stretch or anything. So like, I have like this big old like Stanley-esque cup in my Osprey bag, right? Yeah, you're not fitting that. Like, or I have a Yeti, a 36-ounce Yeti Rambler. You're not fitting that either in here. You'll fit like a skinny bottle. Like I can fit like this smart water bottle here. But other than that, like you're not fitting a whole lot bottle-wise in here as we get into that part as well. Now, what I will say is I went to check the price of the bag and it still is $230, as you can see. But what I'm immediately noticing is it looks like they did resolve. This is the second generation of the bag, I guess, that they just released. I wasn't even aware of this. It looks like they did address a lot of my issues for the most part. So like, as you can see, it looks like the zipper goes farther down the bag. It doesn't stop at the halfway point like it does on the one I have here. It looks like the water bottle pockets are a lot wider and more stretchable mesh now. Like it looks like, yeah, he fits my exact Yeti Rambler in his, which I could not fit in this first generation, I assure you. So it looks like they fixed the water bottle pocket issues at the very least, and they fixed the overall yeah, look at that. That's a way. So it looks like they have a way better zipper, like a farther zipper that goes farther down, and they have way better water bottle pockets on this newest generation. It looks like that. Other than that, the bag is pretty much the same. Yeah, that seems to be like really the only big changes. They don't show the straps really that much, because that was one of my biggest issues with the bag, was those straps. So I don't. Oh, look, they even added that's good too. They added a little waist strap, because this bag definitely gets kind of heavy and uncomfortable to carry without that waist strap. So that's good. So it looks like they definitely made some quality updates to this thing. Yeah, it looks like they updated even the suspension system, because it's more adjustable now. So it looks like this second generation makes some upgrades. But the thing is, so like this looks like this might be the older generation or something. I'm not sure. Either way, for the first generation, you know my issues with it. It looks like they might have potentially changed. They still have the same sternum strap thing going on. Looks like they might have changed how these tensioners work, which would be really nice. So that's good. That's good. I would still consider looking into Osprey, just because they have so many bags and I had great experiences. This is a good bag overall, though. I think $230 is a little pricey. I would probably, like I said, be more in the $150 to $200 range. But yeah,